Hello, everyone, and welcome to the panel, gentlemen. In recent years, India has witnessed a remarkable surge in the popularity and acceptance of esports. Of course, making a significant transition towards, mainstream recognition. And like we've seen over the years that esports has sort of turned into mainstream. It's gone into media. There was the BGIS and BGMS, so they were live streamed and sort of telecast on our traditional TVs and streaming services as well. So, what I wanted to understand, like my first question, is esports has made it to the TV, of course, TV screens and streaming services this year, and it has really come into its own. So, do you see multiple TV streaming collaborations in the future? And across the panel, this question is across the panel, so anyone can start.
Hello. Yes. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, esports is on a rise, and come what may, all of it depends on the technological growth that we have seen in the country over the last decade or so, especially when it comes to mobile gaming, which obviously runs the forerunner of any esport events. Whether you look at the BGMI series or the Free Fires or the Clash Royales and the multiple other mobile games that have gained immense popularity in a country where there are more than 300 million gamers. Talking about them streaming on the TV, that is something which has surfaced in the recent years, and the primary reason for that is also the acceptance of esports in other media platforms as something which, one, has traction, second, has popularity, and the third most important, has loyalty. And that is where esports, definitely the growth or the numbers that you see are on a rise, and especially with the Gen Z also kind of motivated enough to make esports as their mainstream career options in a lot of different segments that involve esports, is something where definitely it's something that is here to stay and here to grow.
I think the the reality is that there are more viewers out there than players playing, right? And that's how fundamentally happens in every sport, right? And I think the esports catch up towards this particular segment becoming mainstream will definitely get fueled as the viewership goes television, right? And I think this is a very very interesting thing that is happening, right? When you see something like that happening, statistically, it tells you that this is the next big thing, right? And that's exactly what is being driven out there, right? So I think this is a very welcome, in my view, this is a very welcome step as far as the further growth of esport ecosystem in the country is concerned.
TV is not something new. It actually started 5 years back on a channel called Discovery Sport, D-Sport. That's where the first broadcast on TV was for esports. But the thing back then, it was PC titles where people could just watch. They couldn't feel what they're playing because PC affordability is not there in the country as of now. But with BGMI being telecasted on BMPS on Star TV, that was changed because people could watch, play at the same time. And secondly, today's youth has cut the cable, but they can go to their parents, see, this is the game I play, which is on the TV. So that has been the big difference in my view.
All right. Esports now becoming a sort of a mainstream sporting event now. So, what are the tools that players need to prepare in order to sort of make a career in esports? Khalid, if you may.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is something that that we overlooked for quite some time, in my opinion, right? Even before we go to the tools, I think one of the most important thing that when you look at esports ecosystem is how the physical and the mental conditioning of the players is as equally important as the set of tools that they require. Right? Most of the times when you look at it, people would come in and say, hey, you know what, the tools that you would require in order to be functioning well or performing well in esports are probably the right technology, right monitor, right accessories, right digital storage products, right processing power, right internet ecosystem, and so on and so forth. But even before that, I think what's very important is how well the players are actually utilizing tools that enhance their physical, their mental capabilities, right? Because I think as esports, right, your functioning of your mind is far more important than just the tools that you're looking at, right? So, in my opinion, I would really like to emphasize the effort or the importance that esport teams or esport ecosystem players are giving on particularly on that aspect as well, right? So.
I like to add a couple of points. Giving one personal example, which I always give, is that my wife, who's non-gamer, she's okay putting my kid to a cricket training institute, football training institute. But when it comes to esports, she's like, no, he's wasting his time. So first, most important is acceptability by the parents, and making them understand that this is also a sport. He's not just enjoying time, but the mentality is of the parents, which is changing now, by the way, is that, oh, he's playing game, not playing a sport. Second, as Khalid said, that the physical and mental fitness is more important than the processor. Trust me, that is secondary, but primary is that. And third, which is missing in this country, is the ecosystem. How does person goes from amateur to the professional level? Where's the scouting ground? Where's Ranji for esports? That is what has been missing in the country, which is very critical. Like, the stars we have are the stars who are self-made, but there's no discovery process. How you bring them in front line, how they come to the limelight.
A very clean analogy. So, do you want to add something to it?
Well, the only missing part, except for what Khalid and Anurag very rightly said, is also having it accumulated within academics. You see a lot of these developed countries where esports has literally now been a part of an academia, or whether you start learning, you start getting incubated for esports in your respective educational institutes, or getting the right set of mentorship, or getting the right set of guidance, along with obviously the tools that all are very necessary. But like any other conventional sport, you need that right set of coaching, the right set of guidance, the right set of mentorship, from what your skills can kind of translate into what kind of gameplay. I mean, you can be an analytical thinker playing an FPS game, or literally someone who is very agile playing a very analytical game. So it also depends on the personality that can be engraved when you are in your initiation or kind of in your educational days, and that right set of mentorship is something which can add a lot of value.
Can I just before we move to the second question, right, the other question, just add to it, right? I think specifically when we are talking about tools, right, and I think obviously we all would agree that in the last half a decade or so, the evolution that the country has seen with regards to the esport ecosystem is far more advanced than what it used to be, right? And of course, for people out there who are actually looking at esports and looking at esports as a very critical career opportunity for them. The tools are not just the technology tools that we are referring to. The tools are like we're not talking about using a fast performance WD Black in your PC, just that, right? But we're talking about tools like the India Gaming Summit, right? I mean, this is a tool that gamers would ideally should be and would be a part of it, right? Where they can network, they can try to understand how the ecosystem is shaping up. What is the opportunity? What are the next 3 to 4 years roadmap with regards to the gaming opportunity in the country, right? So I think a lot of those tools that are parallelly available to the gamers out there is something that should be explored effectively as well, right?
All right, moving on to the next question. I wanted to understand how different is the system for beginners as compared to a person who's playing at a very advanced level. So, if you may.
When you are at a beginner stage versus an advanced stage, there's a huge journey that you obviously cover, and like what we just discussed in the last question itself, that that gap that fills in is still missing, or so to say, very ambiguous. But obviously, when you start as a beginner, your first element is liking the game, your passion towards the game, your liking towards making it count a few hours of your day, your leisure time, of course. And that is where the beginner stage kind of starts, is when you actually start getting more and more involved and closely involved with the game. And then obviously, as you progress further, with becoming better and better at it, when you reach that certain semi-pro stages, it's very important for a gamer to start get incubating certain skills which cannot be just self-born. They have to be practiced upon, or they have to be known or knowledged about. And then obviously you make it to the pros, where you start becoming a part of a roster, or you becoming startup. You kind of stand out into multiple career options that esports eventually ends up giving you, whether it be a content creation or whether it be becoming a professional gamer. But that journey, obviously, from a beginner to advanced stage, requires a lot of different milestones that you need to cover in that as well.
So I think Soham is being too humble. His company is a great platform for people to showcase their skills, Gamerji. So I think that's what is important. Though Khalid has not spoken yet, but WD Black Cup is a great platform for semi-pros to show their talent. Of course, the beginners come through, Gamerji semi-pros come through, Khalid's platform, and there's, sorry for self plug-in, but that's where we come in. We run 2 leagues. One is just for college students, where the prize we give is the scholarship, not just cash prize. And second is a tournament where professional gamers are not allowed. It is only for amateurs. So we want to become the Ranji Cup for esports. So I think these 3 put together, brands coming with their own tournaments, some with a platform, automated platform where people participate and showcase their achievements, and us as a semi-pro league, which bring those talents in front.
There are millions and millions of people out there in the country who are actually those beginner level gamers. How many of them would switch from continuing to be a beginner or an amateur to a professional level? Depends on how exciting the opportunities are there in that particular segment, right? I mean, Anurag talked about the WD Black Cup. We started the WD Black Cup, right, a few years ago with a very, very humble prize pool, right? As we continue to see that evolve, we continue to see that the prize pool for the WD Black Cup significantly going up every year, right? And I'm sure there are multiple organizations out there who are doing what they're doing. For example, Gamerji, right? I mean, if there are people, and if there is enough communication out there that goes to those beginners that, look, there is an opportunity for you to continue to explore this segment. If you're good, if you're practicing well, if you're investing your right time, right, and you're analyzing your gameplay, there's an opportunity that, from playing gully level, give you that analogy, right, playing gully level gaming, that you can move to the Ranji level and the national level and the international level, right? So, and I think it's very, very important for us to make sure that we continue to highlight and flag this opportunity, right? If you look at it as a segment, the annual growth rate that we are seeing as far as gaming industry is in the country is about 20%, greater than 20%, right? It's a very, 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 very critical segment, right? So,
just like to add one thing. I think majority of the time where beginners who want to become pros leave the game is because of the toxicity on the servers. So I think that is one angle which, as a community, we need to work to reduce it. We can't go away with it, but to reduce it, to basically encourage these players to keep practicing and coming forward.
Sure. Technology, of course, is playing a huge role in the sort of, esports coming to the mainstream. So I just wanted to understand how important is the role of technological innovations or advancements, such as virtual reality or even augmented reality for that matter, in enhancing the esports experience?
Look, I think the stickiness of any segment comes with how you are able to enhance the experience, right? I mean, with with VR and AR coming in, right? The immersive experience that is available in this segment, and again, it's not just for the gamers, right, but also for the audience, right? If you are able to utilize the ability of the technology, you are able to not just create a very, very immersive experience for the gamers, but also a very immersive experience for the consumers who are actually, consuming that content. And I think that's very, very important. The adoption of these technologies will continue to fuel the growth of this segment, right? Of course, it's needless to say, right, as this immersive experience continues to grow, the need for us to have a much faster storage on the device, the much faster processing capabilities on the device is also very, very critical. So I think technology definitely will continue to play a very, very critical part as far as the growth of the esports ecosystem is concerned globally.
So as Khalid said, so VR and MR, especially both of them, help to enhance the experience of the viewers, not for the players, but for the viewers. And that's very important. I remember 5 years back when I was at Riot, there was one event which they used to do, which is called Worlds, which is their League of Legends World Cup. There they had a show where a dragon flew over the stadium. And that was all AR. Trust me, that was the spectacle event for that whole show, not the match. Match was secondary when we saw that event per se. So, yeah.
And obviously, with technological advances, not only in esports, but you see any even conventional sports, the involvement of AR and VR, especially when you look at the telecasting that happens for cricket matches, or whether you look at the World Cups that happen for soccer, you see the involvement of AR, especially in a lot of viewership standpoint, which what Anurag just mentioned, and also for the evolution to continue when it comes to developing games or when it comes to enhancing the experience. It's definitely, technology plays a very, very important role to make sure that the journey, or so to say, the experience comes to as realism as possible. So for that, technology definitely would play a very pivotal role.
Adding on to my last question, so I just wanted to understand, like, potential. What's the potential for further technological advancements in esports?
I think more or less it's on the broadcast side. So as and when we get more immersive AR technologies, we'll see better production. But as far as the sports part is concerned, I don't think technology will play that major a role in terms of improving the gameplay of that. Is all depending on the athlete. It's like cricket. Yes, you can give him a bat, but he needs to learn to bat. So I think we're at a stage where we need to teach them how to learn to bat, then rather than looking at what bat to make. So that's my perspective on the tech part.
No offense, Anurag, but I slightly disagree, right, on this, right? I feel, I think, to be honest with you, technology will play an insane role with regards to the future of AI. Let me with regards to the future of gaming. Let me explain it to you, right? If you look at the traditional gaming, right, you see how AI and analytics is currently playing a part with regards to the player performance, right? I mean, you look at our critical game, which is cricket, which connects us, right? You see how effectively analytics is playing a very, very important part, right? For the teams to strategically plan their moves, right? I feel that over the next few years, analytics will play a very, very critical part in esports as well, right? Wherein analytical tools can be utilized by teams to strategize their gameplay, right? To understand how better that they can perform and maximize their output. Yeah.
No, and absolutely rightly said, Khalid. Even in esports, we are starting to see evolution in technology where they are putting sensors on esports athletes to see how they can enhance their gameplay. Something similar to they do in conventional sports too, where technology definitely, through data, through analytics, through literally body movement and mind pattern recognitions, is building that next stage of gamers, which ideally would be a class apart from what literally a bedroom gamer would probably provide you. So that's where technology will play a very, very important role, and we are already on that path. I mean, literally the last thing you know is you'll have holographic games running on here the next time you have it.
Excuse me. So, as we talk about esports, so it has emerged as one of the, go-to destinations, I'll say, for aspiring gamers. The market is expected to grow at 7.74% to reach approximately 166 million valuation by 2028. So, how do you think the sector is set to grow in the coming times, if you may, Anurag?
So definitely it's gonna grow. I don't believe on the reports because I've seen reports being proven wrong both sides. Sometimes they were underestimates, sometimes they were overestimates. But I can tell you for sure that right now it's still some time for it to go mainstream. For me, the mainstream is when parents say, "Kid, you have done your studies, go play for 2 hours. I want you to become a sportsman, e-sportsman." So that is the time I will say it as go mainstream. But we are on the right path. Today, the acceptability of parents 5 years, just 5 years before, is much more. So I think that's the positive I see. And of course, the market is growing and it will grow. But by what percentage, I have no clue.
I'm going to tell you a personal anecdote on this one, right? So I'm on the opposite side of the fence, right? I personally have loved gaming always, and I aspire that my son enjoys gaming. My son enjoys gaming; he loves gaming, right? But he enjoys it at the level he's like, I don't want to turn pro. I don't want to turn pro. I said, listen, turn pro. It's good, right? It's a good industry. It's a good segment. It's like, no, I don't want to turn pro. I'll play for an hour, right, and then go back, right? And as I said, right, I think the whole journey, right, from becoming a casual gamer to a professional gamer has a lot that happens in between, right? And of course, the child's acumen or the person's acumen and his ability to understand this segment also plays a very, very critical part to it, right? So the growth in this particular segment, I mean, Anurag has said it rightly, right? Hence proven wrong, right? I believe that we will continue to see a massive growth opportunity in this segment. And what the beauty of this segment is, when esports as a segment grows, it along with it takes multiple sub-segments to a different level of growth, right? And I'm sure you would probably have seen that a lot more than any of us.
No, absolutely. And see, esports to grow at the numbers that you mentioned and continue on that growth, there are a lot of external factors that also will play a very, very important role. Awareness, acceptability being one of them. But the second is also government support, infrastructure, publisher support, games, the quality of the games that turn out, and along with that, obviously, the kind of gamers that evolve and kind of come out of our country or in the world in general. So that external factors will also be playing a very, very important role. Yes, that's why I'm in the business, but yes, not being biased towards what I'm doing, I definitely believe that esports is here to grow and grow multifolds. But the external factors, and especially the demarcation of esports as an industry by itself, is something which will play a very, very important role if it has to grow in this country.
So just adding to that, since Khalid mentioned a personal anecdote. So my son is 10 years old. So when he's sitting with me, he said, I want to become an esports player. But when mom is around him, he's like, I want to become, right now, flavor of the month is doctor. But it keeps changing. But back of mind, he wants to become an esports player, and he's very clear. I want to become an esports player and represent the country. So his final goal is to represent the country, not specifically in esports. So, but that is what he believes is achievable. So that's the flavor of the month is doctor, but that's how it is.
Well, you're lucky the flavor of the month is doctor. My son, who's 5 right now, he wants to become a gardener because he saw our gardener doing an excellent job. So you're lucky in that space so far.
Yeah, because fortunately, when my kid was growing up, we had COVID, so he didn't see gardeners back then.
All right, to my last question. So, 2023 was a rather fruitful year for esports. Krafton bringing back backgrounds, Mobile India, and again, the same day we also heard the news that Garena is bringing back Free Fire. So what sort of an impact is that going to sort of have on on the esports industry? With the games that already exist, with the titles that already exist.
See, publishers won't like my answer, but that's the reality. Every game has a bell curve cycle. They go, they grow, but they come down, they decline. That's traditionally what has happened, except two games which I have not seen their life cycle is more than a decade, which is League of Legends, Dota, and CS, Counter Strike. Counter Strike with different versions, 1.8 to Go, and now CS2. So these are the three games who have more than a decade worth of that, but all games have a life cycle. So what is important for publishers to bring is new games which have the same kind of impact that BGMI and Free Fire has had in India. Because of course, India is a mobile first country, so mobile titles do good. But if you look at number of titles, I think these two titles have touched the peak. Other titles have been much, much below these guys. I think what one of, I'll not name that guy, but that publisher told me that he wants 10 games like his title for this country to really grow, which is what I also feel, that you need choice. Even from the viewing perspective, like I've been watching BGMI when it was not even called BGMI, before even BGMI. So I like that kind of a play style. But when I'm watching Free Fire, I don't enjoy that much. But next game, I might enjoy. So multiple games we need in the ecosystem to bring the whole journey and life cycle of the gaming culture.
No, and rightly pointed. So, I mean, the life cycle of a game. I mean, we have witnessed games that have been lasted over a decade, and we've literally had games which have been flavor of the month, something like a Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Literally, we had people roaming around on the streets for 6 months, and then 7th month, it vanished in thin air. Like today, I highly doubt how many people in the room today have Pokemon Go on their phone, right? So that is how a life cycle of a game functions, right? And the publishers realize it when they say that they want multiple games of a similar genre, or games which ideally shape the entire the industry put together. But there is always going to be that one game which is going to stand out, and that one game which is going to define. And if the volatility of the games, yes, 2023 was an exceptional year where these games came back, but if always that fear of certain games coming and going, that is not very healthy for esports as an industry in general. Because right, if you think about it from a gamer's perspective, today you are playing and you are really starting to go good at it, and then hey, the game is no longer available for you to play. So that definitely creates a huge impact, not only to the industry, but imagine that impact that it creates to a gamer who has spent hours and hours and hours doing that, right? So it's definitely the regulations need to be a little more clearly defined. Along with that, obviously, new titles which will play a big role and we'll see more years like 23 where the games are just not reintroduced, but new games are born every year. So that is something which hope for and look forward to.
I think both Soham and Anurag has clearly answered everything. I don't have anything to add to it.
All right. So closing remarks. What's your advice for budding esports players or someone who's trying to get into an esports business? Khalid.
Me? Well, look, as I said, right. I view it as a growth opportunity. My son still doesn't, right? I hope that over the course of time he realizes the immense opportunity that exists in gaming as an ecosystem. My advice is that when you look at gaming as a professional career, don't look at this as a sedentary career in itself, right? It's a career that if you really want to flourish and do well in it, your physical, your mental well-being and fitness is as equally important as your gameplay is, right? So focus on these aspects. There are tons of examples that you will see out there, professional gamers who have done phenomenally well in their career, right? And I'm not talking about guys at a global level. I'm talking about practical real life role models that you can actually pick and choose who are based in India, in the country itself, doing phenomenally well and making us proud. And of course, I would love to see that at an international large gaming events that we do well, right? Continue to win well, and that'll help us to make sure that people who are at the cusp of moving from a casual gamer to a professional gamer look at this segment and say, okay, you know what, this is what I want to go and do. So.
I think, as Khalid said, if you wanna make it a career, you have to follow a regime. Your mental wellness, your physical wellness need to be part of that regime. Second thing which a lot of people commented, oh, I want to quit my studies because I want to become a gamer. I said no. Keep those studies as a backup plan. I'm okay with that, but never leave your studies. At least do graduation in whatever field you want to do, but do it as a backup plan. If things don't go good, you should not be spoiling your career. Third most important is stick to that plan. Like any other career, me, Khalid, Soham, we have been part of so many companies, but there's not always a happy ending in every company. Similarly, in your gaming career, there's gonna be up and down. So be ready, be mentally ready to face those downs, especially. Up, yes, they will always be there.
And just to add on to that, I mean, yes, gaming as an industry does not only provide one career option. It's not only becoming a pro esports player or a pro gamer, right? If gaming is your passion, there are multiple avenues of career options within the industry itself, right? You can develop games, you can be a programmer, you can be a content creator, you can be an esports gamer, you can be an event organizer. There are multiple career options that are there within the industry itself. So if you are just going to look at industry from one single standpoint, that if I could not become a professional gamer, then this is the end of the journey in the gaming field for me. That's not true. The entire industry revolves around these other pillars. Pro gamer comes and sits on top of it. But if there were not people making games, there were not technologists who could, or there were not animation artists, there were no content creators, what's the gaming field for? Right? So, yeah, I mean, the industry has too much to offer.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's it from our side. Thank you.
Thank you.